So we continue with the Operation Encore reading, which was a follow-up to the FBI's previous investigation, PENTTBOM. This document entitled Khalid al Mihdhar and Nawaf al Hazmi told Modar Abdullah, wait and see what Osama bin Laden will do in the United States. And this is really something else. I'm going to make myself disappear so you can read it. Or do I have room? I'm going to make myself disappear. So this is really something else, this one here. Approximately 1 year after the 9/11 terrorist attack, and you can see redacted, learned that just before Khalid al Mihdhar and Nawaf al Hazmi left the San Diego area, they told redacted, wait and see what Osama bin Laden, what he will do in the United States, end quote. Now, I'm going to say, let me stop right there because both Al Mihdhar and Al Hazmi worked at the Texaco gas station. They also worked at a place called Sam's Start Mart, and it was headed by a manager called Sam Mustafa, where both Al Mihdhar and Al Hazmi told certain employees that there was going to be a big surprise in the upcoming weeks because they worked there in August of 2001. Now, you may wonder, what the hell are they doing? You know, these guys are irresponsible for doing that, but they weren't very specific. And I happen to think that this redaction is an employee of Sam's Start Mart, which no longer exists. Sam Mustafa is currently doing, I think, 30 years inside a U.S. federal prison for tax fraud or some fraudulent activity regarding his taxes or something of this nature. I tend to forget. But this is where I think that statement was made. On a separate occasion, redacted, Modar Modar Abdullah also said the last thing Nawaf al Hazmi and Khalid al Mihdhar said to Modar was wait and see what Osama bin Laden, what he will do in the United States. Who is Modar Abdullah? Modar Abdullah lived in California, specifically in San Diego, was tasked by Fadal Demeri to assist these two men. Later on, the FBI interviewed Modar Abdullah and believed that he was basically not being very accommodating in revealing more about these two men. They think that he knew about specifics regarding the plane's operation, but they really couldn't be, they couldn't really determine if that was the case. He was being imprisoned on visa fraud charges and was deported, I think, to Morocco, if I'm correct. He was interviewed by the FBI a couple of times in the years 2001 and onward by the FBI. He's a key individual. He's a key individual in the Operation Encore files, but he's a very key individual because he helped Al Mihdhar and Al Hazmi to the LAX airport, and it's asserted by the FBI through the revelation of the Encore files that there was a third individual, unnamed, and to this day nobody knows who it is, that was surveilling the security apparatus in Los Angeles International Airport. So, interestingly enough, Modar Abdullah. Blank believes Modar conveyed this story to him prior to 9/11, but is not completely sure. Blank opined that because Adnan was not supportive of Osama bin Laden, the two hijackers probably told this directly to Modar, who then related to Redacted. Redacted stated provided Redacted electronic mail address in Bahrain as Redacted. And that's the end of this document. But let me, talk about this in a more general perspective, because Modar Abdullah is a very interesting individual, and what this meant to, the perspective of Al Mihdhar and Al Hazmi in general prior to the 9/11 attacks. And what I'm going to do is basically give a general synopsis of Modar Abdullah. Modar Abdullah came from Canada through a Yemeni passport in December of 1998, but by January, February of 1999, he was applying asylum for a country in Africa, but he became friends with, excuse me, a Somali community. I think Somali or Libyan. I'm not, don't, well, I don't know. I just don't know. In a city in I'm sorry, City Heights. It was named City Heights, and pretended to be a North African in asylum forms. Now, of course, he's hiding his background. Why? Very nefarious. But maybe because he wants to not pay taxes if he's here on a work visa. That's what the Israelis did here in the year 2000, 2001, when they applied for being involved with the moving front companies. Keep that in mind. So he came across an individual named Omar Abid Muhammad, who attended an Islamic center in San Diego, and he got affiliated with the San Diego community where he connected with two communities that was the focus of an FBI agent who I speak about sometimes, named Stephen Butler. Now, you may say, oh, I've heard this name before. Stephen Butler was the handler of an informant that was involved with providing two rooms to Khalid al Mihdhar and Nawaf al Hazmi. His name was Abdul Sadr Sheikh. He had a code name as an informant, Sam. Stephen Butler had him as a classified C1 informant for over 20 years. Here's a guy with connections in San Diego, and Modar Abdullah knew who he was. Sounds too close knit for me. So, over the years, NBC News, one of the few agencies, had learned that there was an investigation into the gas station Sam Starkmart, who, by the way, I forgot to tell you that one of the employees was Modar Abdullah, when he got affiliated with Al Mihdhar and Al Hazmi, which, by the way, triggered in part by surveillance videotapes by the Los Angeles airport that I talked about in June of 2000 by Modar Abdullah, Khalid al Mihdhar, and this unnamed Saudi. Now, where was Khalid al Mihdhar going to? Well, he went from LAX to Yemen. By the way, who also knew about this? The CIA and the NSA, but they didn't tell the FBI. Now, over the years, I've been telling you that the CIA and the NSA knew about Khalid al Mihdhar and Nawaf al Hazmi coming to the United States in January of 2000. Here he is leaving for Yemen in June of 2000. Now, he was gone for a couple of months and he came back. Wouldn't you think that the CIA at this time would have just said, and they knew he was Al Qaeda, put him on a watch list? Well, according to the CIA, didn't know that he came back inside the United States when it was too late. But that's bullshit, because they knew who he was when he came before in the country the first time in January 2000. So that means they didn't lose contact with him inside the United States because the Saudis were following him and monitoring him, who were working on behalf of the CIA through a very covert program that was revealed under the Donald Canestraro documents. So this is the reason why I've read this. This is the reason why I do these document readings, so that you can get a history of the unanswered pieces, of the unanswered questions involving 9/11 that you're not going to get from alt media, unfortunately, that you're not going to get through the media, unfortunately, and you're definitely not going to get with the 9/11 truth movement, unfortunately. So there's very few of us that do this. So, but I do it to provide my audience, to provide the public a reasonable, rational, careful history of what took place before 9/11, on 9/11, and after 9/11. And it's my duty to do so, and it's my privilege, and I consider it a public duty to do this for you. Listen, thank you very much for tuning in, and see you in the next video, everybody. Have a great weekend. Take care.